Hey, what we have today is a brand new major order briefing. We'll go over that. We'll talk about what's going on with the developers. The community manager answers a question about swapping engines. There's also some talks about stunlock and some other things we'll go over. We'll also talk about the recent review bombs going on, and there's much more we'll be discussing. If you would like to support the channel, please tap the like button below at any point and subscribe with notifications on. We are going to start off with some great news. We are officially on the last and final Democracy Space Station phase. Yes, finally. And we know this since the latest briefing message mentioned it. Right here it states, in a show of grit and endurance, the Helldivers have managed to hold all designated planets, allowing citizens of all ages to safely evacuate to the DSS. These evacuees have all put on generous contracts and are currently attending accelerated boot camps in orbital weapons handling. Without the swift action of the Helldivers, they might never have gotten the chance to experience the glory of the warfront, the freedom of space, or the camaraderie of dormitory living. Now that the DSS has been fully staffed, the project has entered its final phase. Activating it will require filling its 20-story reusable fuel tanks, and for key personnel to input the long and highly confidential activation code at their designated terminals. As we look towards our bright future, we thank the Helldivers, whose hard work will soon allow the DSS to blast away all shadows. Man, it feels like we've been working towards the Democracy Space Station for ages now, and it will be nice to see it in action finally. All the hard work is paying off, and it looks like we'll finally be able to use it soon. However, we're not done just yet. We still need to complete this final phase for the DSS. Next up, a community manager answered a question on whether or not Arrowhead can swap engines for Helldivers 2. I've seen a similar question in the comments below in a different video that I've answered, yet I believe it's best to provide proof and give you all clarity on this. The simple answer is no, they cannot do it. But don't take my word for it. Let's see the proof where the community manager Twinbeard responded to a question on X right here, and this player clearly asked if the Arrowhead team has any plans to update or change the engine in the near future. Twinbeard responded back with this: an engine change for HD2 is highly unlikely. It's a massive undertaking that in many cases are either virtually impossible or just not feasible. So does this mean they're going to continue with the Stingray engine? Yes and no. Yes, they'll still use it for Helldivers 2, but if they have plans to create a Helldivers 3, then no, they most likely will not use the Stingray engine since it's outdated. Plus, if you've seen a video of mine in the past where I've discussed the game engineer job position on Arrowhead's site, they are clearly looking for someone who can adapt to a new game engine, as it says here in the description. Now, there's no telling what engine they'll most likely use in the future, yet I'd imagine they'll go down the Unreal Engine route that a lot of developers seem to be using or are going to be using for their future games. I don't know about you all on PC, but I've noticed there are issues with the Unreal Engine in terms of stuttering for most games. If they do plan on going down the Unreal Engine route, then I would hope they'll have everything running smoothly in terms of performance and that they'll have it optimized better. Anyhow, with that being said, what would you like Arrowhead to use? Would you like them to use the Unreal Engine, or would you like them to use a different engine instead? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of the Arrowhead team, there's a chance that the developers might implement a hotkey to allow us to swap between the programmable ammo types instead of holding down the key or button. For example, as of right now, when you want to switch between either flak rounds or affit rounds, you have to hold down the button or key in order to choose between the two different rounds. Well, a player here posted this suggestion on the Helldivers 2 Reddit page, and an Arrowhead team member named NHGS posted a comment below, essentially telling the player that he had brought it up in the developer chat and thanked the player for providing feedback on this. It would be amazing to have an easy way to swap between the rounds without holding and then selecting the rounds, right? This would be an absolute game changer, and it would be nice to have that in the near future. So if you were wondering about this, well, the team is looking into it, and we could see a change here at some point down the road. Now there's another comment from the Arrowhead team member _HDS. This time it's a response about the Tesla Tower and how it currently can stunlock you to death. There's a post here by a Reddit player who brought up the topic and mentioned that the 95% arc resistant passive armor does absolutely nothing to stop this from happening. The good news is that the Arrowhead team is already aware of it and they're going to look into it. This response right here, I'd expect that will be a part of a future update, since in the recent update they didn't do much about this and there was no mentions in the patch notes that they've made any changes to either the arc resistant passive or that they've changed the Tesla Tower to prevent stun locking players when using the passive. So with that being said, once I get word about this, I'll be sure to update you all in a video later on, but as of right now, this is all we know about this particular issue, and yeah, there you go. If you didn't know about this already, tap the like button below. Alrighty, continuing along with the Arrow team's responses, I'm sure there are a few of you out here that would like to know about the beta testing program. If you didn't know, Arrowhead has been conducting beta tests through Steam specifically, and there's been questions revolving around this. There have been a few players wondering when they can apply and get the chance to try out these patches before they're released. The CEO responded to a question about this on the official Helldivers 2 Discord when a player essentially asked how they could become a beta tester. The CEO's exact reply can be seen here, and he wrote this: "The program is slowly being expanded. We'll light the fires of Gondar when it's time to go." Well, as you can see, they are slowly rolling it out to specific players. I have not reached out to them personally, so I don't know if this is specifically for content creators or if they're simply selecting random people for it. I couldn't tell you. At some point, I'm sure they'll post a community update on when and how you can apply, so that will be fascinating to see what their exact plans are surrounding the beta testing. Lastly, the CEO was asked about the Arrowhead team's thoughts and feelings regarding the new update for Helldivers 2 after hearing how rough it was for the developers when the Escalation of Freedom update dropped. Sham's response was that it's much better now. As you can see here, he responded back with this: "Much better. We're super happy that the user score on Steam is so much better and more are playing the game." This right here, it's awesome that the team at Arrowhead is doing a lot better this time around. However, recently I've seen some negative reviews pop up for Helldivers 2. With that being said, we're going to move along and go over an update status on the news from yesterday's video. I uploaded a video discussing the Sony CEO addressing the PC players out there who are not happy with the PSN link and requirements. The Sony Chief Executive Officer essentially told everyone that since it's Sony servers, you'll have to play by their rules. I'll leave a link below in the comments for you all to check out that video. Anyhow, there seems to be a few players out here trying to review bomb the game once again, and it's all due to Sony's recent comments towards PC players. You can see in the reviews right here that there are players basically telling Sony to F off. There's a review here where someone called Sony greedy, even a comment about how Sony is essentially like an abusive boyfriend that you're trying to fight off. Not only that, but there's a few more comments about how they're greedy and all that, so yeah, it's pretty bad. It's almost like we're experiencing a flashback or a deja vu basically. Now, personally, I don't like it one bit, mainly because the Arrowhead developers have absolutely no control over what Sony says or does. It's sad, really. They have to sit there and watch everything unfold whether they like it or not. Sony owns the IP, therefore Arrowhead cannot do much except try to make the game a lot better, which they've done exactly that in the recent 2 updates. Now, to be fair, I don't know if review bombing the game again is going to change Sony's thoughts about PSN linking. Sure, they responded to the situation last time, and that was 7 months ago when, everything was going south. Yet they haven't done anything in terms of reversing the blocked regions. I feel like at this point, we'll be hurting the Arrowhead developers more than anything, and that truly hurts to see. The reason why I say it hurts, they all have families and loved ones that are dependent on them to bring in the cash, so I don't think it's a good idea to bring stress on them when they all have absolutely no control whatsoever on what Sony says. Now, I get it, it's a great way to retaliate on certain games and whatnot, but at the same time, it mainly affects the Arrowhead game studios as a whole more than anything. Personally, I won't be leaving a negative review at all. I just don't think it'll make a difference in PlayStation's decision on the PSN link requirements or unblocking the affected regions. I truly don't. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, they'll act on the blocked regions and give the players out there a chance to Helldive once again. Okay, now let's talk about the DSS storyline. There are some players that believe it's basically boring, like the whole entire thing has been, because of the filler major orders, essentially. You can see right here, it says, unpopular opinion, DSS storyline is very boring, and it says MO filler, MO filler, MO filler, DSS MO. So is it boring for you guys? I would love to know. I would love to have a conversation about this because I kind of do feel this way. I feel like some of the major orders were just boring. There was nothing new to it, nothing different. It felt like, okay, you have to liberate these planets, hold these planets, and yeah, that's basically it. So what I enjoyed quite a lot in the past was the nursery mission. Remember when that was actually a major order? You had to land down, send down the nuke down below, and that was pretty much it. And I actually enjoyed it quite a lot, even though it was difficult at the time because there were so many shriekers and everything, if you guys do recall that specific major order. So I like ones like those, right? You know, different missions, different things to do. And it feels like the major orders as of late are just fillers, as this person suggests. So yeah, let me know how you feel about this. Do you agree with this or do you disagree? Let's have a great conversation about it below in the comments. Let's now go over a suggested loadout that one of you recommended in the previous video. Remember, if you have already sent it before in another video, comment it again and it might just be chosen to be featured in an upcoming video. What we have today is from a player named Irfan Shojai II2DN, if I'm pronouncing that right, who recommended the Wolf Brigade loadout. The primary weapon is the Flam 66 Torture, an absolute beast when used on Terminids, whether that's Alpha Commanders, Hive Guards, Stalkers, or basic Terminids. The secondary is the P4 Senator, which wrecks Commanders, Hive Guards, and Bloodstains if they're weak enough. As for grenades, we're using the G4 Gas Grenade that pairs nicely with the Flam 66 Torture. As you can tell in this clip, I'm exterminating quite a few Terminids without a problem. Next, the first support stratagem is the Heavy Machine Gun, which has heavy armor penetration and can go through just about any Terminid. I recommend setting the RPM to the lowest for better control, although feel free to go higher if needed. The second stratagem is the resupply pack for resupplying our weapons and grenades, even the heavy machine gun. The third stratagem is the 500 kg bomb for obliterating hive nests, Bloodstains, chargers, impalers, and so many different enemy types. Lastly, the orbital smoke stratagem for giving us cover to reload our heavy machine guns or weapons in general. My thoughts on this so far are that I prefer to use something different besides the smoke stratagem. It's nice for recovery, but when it comes down to enemies and hive nests, I'd rather have a stratagem to deal with those directly. So personally, I'm going to give this loadout a 3.5 out of 5 general brash stars. This is my opinion on it, but don't let this rating discourage you from trying it out, so give it a go and let me know your thoughts. With everything out of the way, let's check out the top 3 comments. If you guys would like to be featured at the end of the video, all you have to do is comment down below. With that being said, let's check them out. The first comment is by Charzanable1439. Sony once again losing more money when they think they're making more money. Yeah, no kidding. I mean, as of late, you would imagine they would remove the blocked regions and stop forcing the PSN link, but that appears not to be the case. The second comment is by OneCat213. Sony, why don't people buy more of my stuff? Proceeds to block games in certain countries. This right here is another comment about the Sony issue. If you guys haven't checked out that video, definitely do so, but I agree. It doesn't make any sense. You'd think they would stop blocking the region so they can actually gain more money, right? And, increase their revenue. Last but not least, we have Yorha Enthusiast. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Sony have a ton of data breaches? Yes, absolutely. They've had quite a few data breaches. I mean, I believe it was 77 million players' information was leaked. Not good. Anywho, those are the top 3 comments. I appreciate all of you that have subscribed recently. It's incredible how far we've gone. I mean, you guys are subscribing like crazy. So if you haven't subscribed, do it now. I know you're not subscribed. Someone out there is not subscribed, YouTube tells me, so make sure you are subscribed and give this video a like. I would love to know your thoughts about everything we've talked about. And just know, guys, I appreciate you. I mean, you watching. I mean, really, you guys have been supporting the channel for such a long time, and I wouldn't be here without you guys. I truly mean that. Maybe it's a little bit repetitive to say that, but honestly, it's true. So thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.